Morning, everybody. For those who don't know me, my name is Titilola Banjoko. To the Nigerians, Titi, to the English, Lola. It's easier that way, so they don't damage my name. I'm going to sort of chair this session, and I'm going to have to give my apologies ahead of time. I am going to act like a benevolent dictator, which means I am going to try and keep to time. And I know it's a challenge when it comes to us Nigerians. We're very passionate people, full of energy. But also, some people have to get back to work. We do have to pay taxes in this country, and we have to earn our living. So I'm going to try my best to keep to time. And I'm giving my apologies ahead of time to the honorables on the table, because I might, politely ask you to round up, and to my fellow colleagues who ask questions. Now, the way this session is going to run, thank you very much for sending in questions ahead of time. Everybody sent in questions ahead of time, and it's interesting to know that many of those questions are themes that already have been picked up by the Honourable in terms of what the engagement, Deputy Speaker. So that's very comforting to know. I'm going to invite Senator Lawan to say a few comments, and then we will then start the session on questions and the themes that were presented. So, do you want to say a few words? Senator Lawan, yes. Do you want to say a few words on? Yeah, you want to say a few words, don't you?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
How many minutes? Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
All protocols duly observed are respected, as we say in Nigeria. My name is Ahmed Lawan, and I represent Yobe North Senatorial District. I participated in the 2007 to 2011 Constitution Review Committee. Currently, I'm not a member of the committee. However, as someone who cares about the development in my country, I think I still have a lot to say about the constitutional review process in Nigeria. And the issues as raised by the Deputy Speaker as issues that are very serious to the development of the country. First of all, when we talk about the creation of states or indigenship, citizenship issue, that is to say that wherever you live in Nigeria you should have all the rights and entitlements, and devolution of power generally. And of course, one issue that was tackled in the last Constitution Review Amendment and was killed, so to speak, by the State House of Assembly was the issue of financial autonomy to the State House of Assembly, which currently the National Assembly enjoys. These are issues that will deepen and strengthen our democracy. And let me say quite from the outset that the participation of the diaspora is so key, is so important to what we do in Nigeria. You have a lot of energy, a lot of expertise and skills, and these are issues that are lacked significantly in Nigeria. So you participate in whatever way you can. I'm not sure whether we can have the voting thing done in 2015, but that is not to stop you from the participation. We have today a situation where in most of the State House of Assembly, the State Assembly members cannot take any decision that is drastic to strengthen democracy as long as the issue affects the governor. That is not what we do in the National Assembly. We challenge the executive. Sometimes we call the president by name to say that he's at fault. And issues that need to be corrected must be corrected. Currently, I think we have just solved the issue of the national budget. I think the budget was only signed yesterday by the president. The National Assembly stood its ground that it is our constitutional mandate to review whatever the executive presents to us in the budget estimate, the appropriation bill. And the executive, on the other hand, will always, I'm sure, argue that we don't have that. But we have, for example, in the states, today it's not possible for the governor to present something in the form of budget or any bill, and then the State Assembly will say no. Why? Because they don't enjoy that financial independence. They may have political independence on paper. So this is one of the issues that need to be addressed. We have so much clashes across the country, especially in northern part of Nigeria, where the question of indigenship citizenship is a serious issue. You may be in a place for maybe 20 years, 30 years, sometimes even 100 years, but still you are seen as a settler in courts. That is very disturbing, and we believe that if we can deal with that in the constitutional amendment, giving Nigerians from whichever part of the country to stay, live, and work in wherever they choose to be as a way of solving the issue. I have only 5 minutes. Let me say that we have to devolve some power from the federal government to the states, and some to even the local governments. But personally, I have an issue with local government local government joint account issue. Why? It may sound odd. I would love to see our local government structure populated in the administration by people who are competent, who have the skills and the experience. The kind of capacity that we have in the local governments, I'm sure at the moment cannot absorb the quantum of funds that will be sent to them. So I believe that before we change or we amend that section, we must build the local government structure, the administration, to have the capacity and the kind of people, the right kind of people and mix that will use the funds for the development of the grassroots. Otherwise, we may end up taking funds from the states to the local governments only to be embezzled or maybe misapplied or misused, and at the end of the day, we would have failed. So I believe that these are the kind of issues that the diaspora can engage the National Assembly, especially the Constitutional Review Committee. But there are so many other issues that are not in the Constitutional Review issues. I mean, you can have ideas or opinions about any other thing. Even if they are not raised, you can raise them. Why not? I believe that you have the wherewithal now, especially with the technology, the e-technology, we can listen to everybody, and Nigerians must listen to you. Not only for what you send to Nigeria, but because of who you are. You represent us. You are our ambassadors here. And indeed, everywhere you have Nigerians, only tiny percent does the wrong thing. Majority of Nigerians do the right thing, and they acquire skills in wherever they are, and they apply those skills. So I believe that you have a lot to give us and to contribute to the development of Nigeria. And with this very brief remarks, I hope that I will have another opportunity on specific issues. But with this, I am hoping that this session will give us an opportunity to link up and maybe continue to dialogue, whether physically, especially in July when you'll be in Nigeria, or some of you will be in Nigeria, or through the internet and other means, so that we always carry your interests on board while the Constitutional Review lasts. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable. Okay, so the way this session is going to run is we'll take the themes, and Honorables, you can sit on your chairs and respond to the questions as opposed to having to get up, just to save a bit of time. So the first theme is on diaspora voting and engagement, and on governance issues in Nigeria. And I'd like to invite Christy also to kindly ask the question. Where is she? She's here. Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you to our honorable members. Oh, thank you very much. Who came from home to give us this opportunity. We thank you very much. My question is on voting. When will Nigerians in diaspora have a stake in Nigerian politics at home? That is a right to vote in diaspora and a right to engage in debate and make contributions through a diaspora commission or assembly on issues of governance that will help strengthen democracy in Nigeria.
Thank you. Thank you. So, honorables, over to you. And then, do you want to start? I'll take a few questions around that theme, and then I'll throw it to you. Yes, Mr. Shuredi.
Hello, my name is Alistair Shuredi, former chairman, Nigerian Diaspora Organization, Europe, NIDO. My question really is, as we're doing this review, does what the outcome of today, does it really matter in the outcome of the constitutional review, so that we will know how to table our next question? And Honorable did mention some of the stakeholders participated in some of the committee.
Please, there are several honorable members here. It's good you specify. If you have problems, you can ask. And I think our names are displayed. That makes it a lot easier for us.
Okay, to make
okay?
it. Okay, well, probably to the Deputy Speaker of the House. And you mentioned that some of the organization participated in some of the dialogue in Nigeria. Were the Diaspora organization given the opportunity as well to participate? Thank you.
Did somebody put up their hand? No? I'll only have to take 2 more questions. So I can only take one from there unless there's someone here and there. So there are 3 in that question. So I'll have to ask, who's going to volunteer not to ask the question? You are volunteering not to ask the question. Okay. So who would then be left? Okay.
My name is Garba Datti, former chairman, Foundation for Good Governance and Development in Nigeria, based here in the UK. While we are talking about the voting rights for the diaspora, putting probably more in context the actual exercise of voting in Nigeria, the fact that our INEC, that is the Independent Electoral Commission, is not quite as independent as it sounds, and therefore the process of voting in Nigeria itself has not been cleaned up to a point where voting outside Nigeria will make any significance or any impact whatsoever. The paramount, therefore, issue is to sort out the process of election in Nigeria such that a more independent body is actually established, and therefore a more transparent, free and fair election is actually acknowledged, and therefore voting outside the country could make a difference.
Okay, thank you. The lady at the back.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Olaju Mokari. I'm a member of the Nigerian Women in Diaspora Leadership Forum. My question is to the Honorable Erewa, please. Is there any particular method that's been devised at the moment to carry out a census, if you may, of the actual number of Nigerians scattered all over the world, in other words, in diaspora? Because several times we hear estimated numbers. For example, I don't know how many Nigerians are here in the UK. You know, we can guess. In London, for example, they run into their thousands. If you go to churches on Sunday morning, for example, each church you have up to 600 people, you know, in each of the churches. Is there any way in particular that, you know, anybody can think of knowing exactly the number of Nigerians in diaspora? Thank you.
Thank you. And the gentleman with the glasses. And then.
Thank you. My name is Babs Zakiaju. I'm chair of the British Nigeria Law Forum. My question is to do with election disputes. How will those be managed? I think in the past we've had difficulty in the confidence of the judiciary in determining, you know, who exactly has won an election. I'm aware that Kenya is holding elections in a few days' time. And, for example, the Supreme Court is, if there's a dispute on the presidential election, the Supreme Court has been mandated by the Constitution that the decision must be made within 14 days of the dispute being filed. So I think this question is to, I think, the whole panel. What measures are being taken to deal with election disputes? Thank you.
Okay. So no more questions on diaspora voting. Should we start? Do you want to start responding? I don't know who wants to go first. Should we? Yeah, Deputy Speaker, since you've been nominated by your colleagues to start.
Well, diaspora voting, I think that was the first question. We did say in the course of my presentation that what we've done is to open up the process of our constitutional amendment. Nigerians in diaspora cannot vote unless the constitution is amended. And I took my time to detail to you the processes and procedure we have followed so that you can understand where we are, because I presumed that these questions would come. So for me, it was an enlightenment process to say to you, this is where we are. We also did mention to you that we opened a website. So of course, you can access information about us on our website, and you'll be opportune where we are. Now, what have we done? I mentioned that we listed out 43 item templates, which essentially focused on memoranda submitted to us by Nigerians. And I did say, someone asked a question, I did mention that some diaspora organizations, about four of them, made presentations to us. And their memoranda were part of what indeed formed the basis of the template. And I also mentioned that item 32 of our template, do you have a copy of that template, please? Can I have it? It's distributed? Good. I did say that item 32 of that template, if you look at it, asks very specific question. Should section 77, subsection 2, be amended to give Nigerians living outside the country in diaspora voting rights? Now, what we did, we saw the view of Nigerians across the country. And I said, from the villages, from the towns, from the creeks, to ensure that we have the input of our people. And the 360 constituencies voted on this. We have collected the results, but we have not released the results yet. Now, of course, I cannot tell you what Nigerians have said. On the day of presentation of these results, you will know what Nigerians have said. And what we've done is that constituency by constituency, we have the results. And that's why it's taking us a little bit of time. We're collecting results, how every constituency in the country voted on each item. So when we say 210 constituencies voted on this to say, yes, Nigerians in diaspora should vote, that means that we should amend section 72, subsection 2. If you want to know who voted for, you'll be able to find out whether Ikorodu federal constituency, which Abike represents, voted yes or no in black and white. You'll be able to know whether Abombisen got by the federal constituency, which I represent, voted yes or no on the issues. So you now know how to deploy your further questions. So when we get this, if majority of Nigerians say, yes, proceed, we probably will get a member of the House. We can get Hon Leo Ogor, if he so wishes, or we can ask Hon Abike Dabiri to now sponsor a bill to amend section 77, subsection 2. And it will go through the legislative process. When the bill is sponsored, the House will consider it. And if the House considers it, it will pass through second reading. If it passes through second reading, I mean, once there's a consensus on it, it's most likely to pass through second reading. If it does, we'll send it to the committee, and the committee will simply dust it up. And then we'll have a joint committee with the Senate. Because before the National Assembly can vote on any issue, the Senate and the House must have a common position on it. If any of such items passes through the two chambers of the National Assembly and gets 2/3 support from the National Assembly, we will now transmit to the various states, hoping that, again, like we said, a certain number of states, I think three-quarters of the states, two-thirds of the states would also vote in that same direction. So what you need to do is, having told you where we are, it is for you to begin to appeal to the conscience of the legislators in both the National and the State Assembly. So what we've done today is to tell you where we are. And please, if you have not been following up, I'll urge you to try and follow up. We're running a transparent process, and you have every opportunity to hook up to what we are doing and participate in what we are doing. Hon Abike Dabiri has spoken about the Diaspora Commission, and I think she captured it in her presentation. And so that was the first question you asked. I'm sure that is taking care of that. Dialogue by diaspora organizations, we've not held separate dialogue as the case may be. Now, what we did was that we identified certain stakeholder groups in the country, like the Nigerian Association of Nigerian Students. You agree with me that local government chairmen, by virtue of the fact that they represent the title of government, they have relationship with their people. And we said, we want you to be part of the organization committee, the steering committee for the People's Public Session. We said it's a people policy session because we wanted to get the inputs and reflect the opinion of Nigerians, and we didn't want to ask Honorable Datti Ahmed to say, Datti, go to Sabongeri Federal Constituency in Kaduna State and conduct a people's public session. If he does it, people who don't like him from the opposition party, from the opposing party to where he belongs, would of course sabotage it. So we said, in order to make this a people's event, but because the House of Reps is initiating it, the member represent that concern in the House of Reps will work in the committee, but the committee will also have other members, other elected representatives. If you have 4 state constituencies in your federal constituency, each of the 4 will be part of the steering committee. And we said, if you have 3 local governments in your federal constituency, each of the local government chairmen will be part of your steering committee. Now, we asked the Nigerian Labour Congress at the federal level to nominate to us 1 rep to each of the federal constituencies to be part of the steering committee. We did the same thing with Trade Union Congress of Nigeria. We did the same thing with Nigerian Bar Association, ASU, Nigerian Union of Teachers, and then the civil society organizations. They had the coalition, and they sent a representative to each of the federal constituencies. Nigerian Youth Council, National Association of Nigerian Students, National Council of Women Scientists, and of course, Nigerian Union of National Union of Local Government Employees. So each of these groups sent us nominees, and it took us well over 6 weeks. And for all you may care, the consultant for the House of Reps Constitutional Review Committee is here, Clement. Clement Nwankwo is a civil rights activist. We deliberately chose him in spite of the risk we are going to run with him. Risk because, yes, I tell you risk because, Clement differs from our position quite a number of times. So it takes a large heart to say, okay, you be at the center of this. So he ensures that he moderates our activities. And we have other consultants. Because of the way the house is constituted, because it's the people's house, we made sure that in each of the senatorial, in each of the geopolitical zones, we have a consultant from the Southwest zone, we have a consultant from the Northeast zone, we have a consultant from the Northwest, we have a consultant from the North Central, from the Southeast and the South-South. And what Clement is doing is, he is the coordinating consultant. So in most of what we are doing, the civil societies are playing a major role, they have their inputs. And that was why, in the course of collation of the results, we have an office in the House of Reps dedicated essentially for this purpose. If you go there right now, I think 447, room 447. If you get to room 447 today, you will see our equipment and our papers, and the collation is going on. So in the course of collation, each of these groups sent an accredited representative so that they will check the returns made from Surulere 1 federal constituency. And when they get it, if they call Surulere 1 federal constituency, they'll pass it. You look at it, Dr. Banjoko, you look at it and say, okay, this is what they said. If you're certified, you pass to Senator Lawan. We went through this rigorous process to ensure that, because in our country, there's always suspicion. People say, oh, you've doctored a document, even when, of course, nobody can doctor. People are saying, oh, it's possible they doctor a document. We'll pass it through to ensure that everybody will see. So, NUT, Nigerian Bar Association, ASU, all have representatives, and we have their details, and we can give you their details there for you to get in touch with them. And they will tell you about the credibility and the transparency that are taking place in what we are doing. So what we are doing is carrying everybody along. We don't have a special day for diaspora. And I tell you, the reason why the Deputy Speaker of the House have to leave our proceeding today in chambers with 2 other leaders and our Chairman, Committee on Diaspora, is because we place a high premium on dealing and meeting with you. Because of the regards we have for you, because we believe you have a lot to offer, because we believe you have capacity to enable us move Nigeria forward, we dedicated today to leave other things and ask the rest of our colleagues to continue with House proceeding so that we can give you attention. What are we doing? If you have any opinion, to reach us is very, very simple and very easy. Please reach us. Don't take the backstage. I don't want us to finish this exercise and people say they never knew what we are doing. We have taken the pains and the steps we've taken, and we urge you to begin to market what we are doing. When we say they are good, they should be good ambassadors. That is what we mean. By being good ambassadors, you must reflect positively those efforts we are making. And if you don't reflect those efforts, then you have yourself to blame. We have not bottled up the exercise. We have opened up the exercise. And we believe we have to be supported because we're working for Nigerians who have elected us. Independence of INEC, I beg to differ with you. The Nigerian electoral system, everybody, I mean, significantly, the 2011 elections have been credited world over as having been free and fair. So if a Nigerian is saying that the electoral process in Nigeria is not independent, that is not true. And if you say that INEC is not independent, that is also not true. Reasonably, and I mean, I can speak for Professor Jega, he's not my friend, but Professor Jega had shown high level of decency in conduct. I mean, the Jega-led INEC today have shown high level of decency. I believe, I mean, Abike is of the opposition party, Hon Datti is of the opposition party. Datti, if you may understand, represents the vice president's constituency. The vice president is of the People's Democratic Party, was a governor of Kaduna State. Hon Datti emerged as a member representing him in the House of Reps. And today, he's leader of the CPC in the House of Reps. So, I mean, how else can you explain that we run a transparent process? Hon Abike will tell you, I mean, in areas where the ACN were strong, they won elections. Now, where we have problems, actually, is the state electoral commissions. And I mean, because you see, if we don't address the issues the way they are, we'll keep running into problems. We have also said, should the states continue to have independent electoral commissions to conduct local government elections? Because any elections held in Lagos State today, ACN will win. They sweep the whole pools in local government elections. There's no mistake about it. They win the whole thing. Whether you go to participate or you don't participate, because the chairman of Lagos State Independent Electoral Commission, of course, is an ACN member. It has to be. I mean, so the question of your voting does not matter. If you like, you stay in the rain, you stay in the sun. Abike, you know I will overrule you. So, I mean, so you see, there's no. I mean, the local government. Senator Lawan stated it. We have very significant issues and challenges, and I want us to look at it honestly. If you want our country to get to where it should be, you have to be honest with yourself. Where you see things moving positively, you must commend it. You can't continue to be cynical all the time. If you are being cynical, you're not addressing any issues. I mean, that, I think, is what we must do. If you feel the Senate has done well, commend them for doing well. If you feel the House of Reps has done well, commend them. But don't keep saying, let us watch. No. That let us watch does not encourage anybody to do well. Look, we have a problem. Truly, I can't understand how we took the pains, took the bull by the horn. We freed the state legislature and said every state legislature should have financial independence. You're not giving me your money. We're not saying that's stealing money, but what we say, if there is 100 million naira budgeted for Kaduna State House of Assembly, it should be on first line charge. They should draw their money every quarter and spend the way they think they have to spend the money because it's been budgeted for, signed into law by the governor. That's what we're saying. Like in National Assembly, the president cannot veto our budget. He cannot, I mean, once we have a budget, and we have ensured that we are disciplined with it. For the past 3 years, we have sustained the same amount every year in our budget in spite of the pressures. So we have discipline on our part. But once that is put, we determine how to spend that money by the members of the House. And that's what we offer the state assemblies. They couldn't get it passed. So you should know where to locate your problems. So don't stop blaming those who have reformed themselves. Look, identify the states and say, look, state legislature, the National Assembly had done creditably well by submitting themselves to the people. Haven't done so. Let us see how you are going to respond to the people's position. And I invite all of you that when we take a decision on the day we're going to make the public decision, starting within the month, within the next 1 month, we urge you to try and participate. If you can send 1 or 2 persons to participate in what you are doing, you get the results and begin to work on it. You cannot begin to put pressure on us to say, look, this is what Nigerians have said. We expect you people who are not representing us to act in line with desires of the people of Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Okay, there's a question on database. I think DS has handled all questions. So I won't really go into what it is. But I'll just say that if ACN will win Lagos again and again because Fashola is working, ACN is working, and we are working. And not because of, I'll come 2015. Maybe you didn't realize, but this sitting arrangement, CPC, ACN, AMPP were taking over The two of them are PDP, so it's okay.
Are you part of them?
Oh, no, I'm neutral. I'm neutral.
Okay, that's it.
I'm neutral.
Why don't you join us?
No.
Already minority.
On the issue of database, I think we've addressed that. And we said we are trying to work on it. 4 areas: mapping and baseline survey, using diaspora associations, missions abroad, and other credible sources of information abroad. NIDO-E started something but stopped. So we're already working with the International Office of Migration to start something this year, and I believe that we have to get it done. Thank you. Now.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes. Honorable Datti, then.
Okay.
Do you want to say something?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I just want to comment on the issue of INEC and election disputes. Although I will not disagree totally with my deputy speaker, but to some extent I beg to disagree. Truly, INEC is not fully independent up to this time, because still election in Nigeria is just like a civil war, especially if you are in the minority party. I've contested 3 times from the minority party, and I knew what I went through. Yeah. You see, like the election of 2007, which I contested and won, but was stolen, the mandate was stolen by the party that I've not mentioned the name. In fact, I was in the tribunal and appeal court for 3 good years, fighting to, it's true. Just fighting to regain the people's mandate, not my mandate, the mandate that was freely given to me. And you see, what normally happens, the governors in Government House will send the list of ad hoc staff to the INEC. We've written a petition in that respect, but nothing has come out of it. What they do is to appoint card-carrying members as returning officers or presiding officers. In the case of 2007, 3 of the returning officers ran away with the summary sheet. But luckily for us, we have all the results from the polling units. So it was that summary sheet they went to forge result and announce. So that singular thing took us 3 years to prove in the court that we won the election. Another organ of government that participates in this election is the police. The police are very, very partisan.
To maintain law and order?
No. Normally, what happens just prior to election, in my own constituency, I'm only talking of my own constituency, which is also similar to surrounding constituency around my own area. So what they do, they try and pinpoint certain people that I know that are very active and are not members of the ruling party. Then they will start harassing them, arresting them, framing charges against them. So at the end of the day, after election, we will still have to be going to police station and courts every day to free our people.
Who participated in violence?
Yes,
No.
Your Excellency, let him, please let him have his say. Thank you.
So, and finally, the judiciary too is not doing very well. Although they are trying, there is improvement, especially from 2011. Because it's all, in the whole of this universe, in the whole of this world, I think it's only in Nigeria where after election you virtually find out every seat contested has to be settled at the court. Even in neighboring small countries, during election, there is no need for agent. People will just vote and go. But there you have to put in one polling unit maybe 20, 30 agents to guide your votes. against vote robbers, or whatever they are called.
Okay.
So with this, I think...
If you just have 3 minutes, but we still have a lot of other questions.
Well, thank you very much, moderator. I think I will be very specific on the process of election and INEC, whether INEC is independent or not. I've been contesting since 1999 and I've been winning. But recently, the social media was awash with issue of merger. The ANPP, the ACN, the CPC, and ABGA merged to form APC, All Progressive Congress. And you would have read that PDP merged with INEC, with police. Yesterday, in yesterday's papers, Buhari said that, but it was there in the social media a long time ago. That was to show how some people feel about INEC. For me, I know there's an improvement from 1999-2011 elections. Certainly, 2011 elections, in my judgment, was the best compared to 1999, 2003, and 2007. However, we still have a long way to go. The fact that INEC still has to get its money through a very tedious process of an executive approval does not tell well. I served in the House of Representatives in 1999-2007. Before 2011, when the constitutional amendment that gave the National Assembly first-line charge in terms of funding, we had difficulties running the National Assembly, especially the first tenure, 1999-2003, when the then president would emasculate the National Assembly by withholding our funds. This trend has now been sorted out. The real problem, I think, will be with the state independent electoral commissions, because the kind of transformation we have achieved at the national level with INEC is not there at the state level. The states, if you go to, for example, a PDP state, once local government elections are conducted, which the state independent electoral commissions conduct, every seat there, from the councillor to the chairmanship offices, will be occupied by PDP. This has recently happened. The last elections held were in Gombe, and every seat was won by PDP because Gombe is a PDP state. And so in most opposition states, this is a fact. I'm an MPP, but this is a real problem. And because the constitutional amendment is so cumbersome, it's not likely to be corrected. Because the State House of Assembly would have to pass whatever we pass in the National Assembly by 2/3 majority. And that is not going to be. You can imagine people who refuse to give themselves independence. They had for them to take financial autonomy, but they denied themselves because the governors didn't like it. That was a simple explanation. Some of the governors then said, over the dead body, no state assembly will be independent because they will not control anybody. So we have a long way to go. We could still make INEC work better, and I'm sure the National Assembly is doing a lot, even though sometimes I'm twisted, but I know every request made by INEC for 2011 elections was approved. Every single financial request was approved because we didn't want to give INEC a chance or anybody a chance to say that INEC could not perform because of lack of funds. So we did that. But I believe on the whole, INEC has improved. And it will continue to improve so long as JEGA remains. And I heard from the grapevines that JEGA could be removed. I don't know how true that would be because nothing is impossible. Nothing is impossible. The kind of politics, and I'm not being partisan, and yes, I'm not being partisan, but the kind of politics that people engage in, for example, executive committees could be dissolved and all manners of things because of some kind of desperation in some quarters. You know, nothing is impossible. Our prayer and hope is INEC remains under the leadership of Jega, because when the president appointed Jega, he didn't know him. That's what he said, and I believe him. So it's up to us in the National Assembly to ensure that we continue to fund INEC properly and supervise the activities of INEC. But the challenge will be, how do we deal with state independent electoral commissions? I'm sure the National Assembly will support the scrapping. We could pass it. But when it gets to the State House of Assembly, I can't see any State House of Assembly that would have the courage to touch that thing with the longest pole in the world. They will not, they dare not. So I believe that we have to devise a way, and I will encourage everybody here in Diaspora to continue to dialogue in the social media if you are home. These are the kind of issues that you can make a difference. You have interest in what goes on, but definitely we have a challenge in that area. Thank you very much.
No question.
Well, for me, I think they touched on most of those issues, but let me try and deliberate a little bit on the issue of the election issue that you mentioned. I think that came from the lawyer. First, election disputes definitely has a process in our Electoral Act. We have what we call the tribunals, because if you look at our Constitution, which I've seen a copy with you, under the provision of Section 6 of that Constitution, it is stated very clearly that the judicial powers of the Federation are vested in the courts. So in that whole process, the courts, after election, sets up what we call the tribunals. And in these tribunals, the first House of Assembly's issue stops at, the tribunals. Then from there, when you get to the issue of House of Representatives and the Senate, it ends at the appeal level, while that of the President ends at the Supreme Court and the governors also. So there is actually a process. There's a judicial process that takes care of every election issue that people disagree with. People definitely at the end of the day, we normally in our country, which I think probably we are doing all we can to reform, we tend to be very bad losers. When the opposition wins, it becomes a non-issue. And when you look at it clearly, I can say something here which I will appeal to everybody here to adopt. Let's try as much as we can to polish the image of our own nation. It is our collective responsibility, because if you say yours is bad, it becomes bad. And where it is there in the media, it becomes a bad issue. Now, I think the issue of election in Nigeria, I want to state that we have a very fair process. We have a president that has respect for the rule of law, and he believes in transparency. If you look at a state like Edo State, the president was there when election was conducted in Edo State, and the opposition party won. Look at Ondo. The same opposition party won because he insisted that let there be free and fair election. The journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step, and I think it's going to be a collective responsibility for us to take Nigeria to that height. I am here to appeal to you to bring in your own input, and I'm putting in my own input. The main issue we have here today is the constitutional amendment. And I think, I will appeal that we concentrate more on the constitutional amendment so that when we get home, we are not going to discuss election issues at home, but we are discussing what you have given to us. There are issues that we have raised here. I think probably I will appeal to the DS that since a copy of this issue is already with you people, look at them, look at the details there and decide to say, should the provision be inserted in the Constitution to make office of the president rotate among the 6 geopolitical zones of the country? Then if we have a good position paper from you, we will now know that, yes, this is what our people that lives in London or Diaspora said. And when I'm arguing on the floor on that day, I will know definitely where that I am defending the input of my brothers and sisters that I met in London. Because whatever you give to me here that I'm going to take home will influence my argument. I may have my personal opinion, but when we are going to argue on the floor on that day, you are not going to be there. And if I don't have your own opinion, sincerely, I won't be able to, put an issue that you will probably say, yes, these people were with us, and this is what I said, and I saw Leo Ogor arguing in the favor of whatever I told him to do. So I appeal here that a document is before you. Take a holistic look at that document, analyze it. Where probably you are not too clear, you can ask us questions, and we'll throw some lights on it, and you will take a position. And when we get to the floor, definitely those positions will be our point of argument. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to correct myself. I've not been a good chair. I've been a very bad chair. And now I'm going to have to take control because time is going. First of all, Chatham House kindly ran a democratic process where they asked everybody to send in questions. So they've pulled together the questions, and it's around themes. So I'm going to focus on those themes because Honorable Ogor has said it is about the Constitution. So I want to focus, so I'm going to be very strict now in that I will call, because if you didn't submit a question, or even if you submitted a question, it will be captured under the themes. So I will call one person to ask on behalf of all of us the question. Then I will then put it to the honorables so they can then respond. We will have others at the end, okay? That's how it's going to run. So apologies, no more hands, no more show of hands unless I called you. That's the way it's going to run. I just want to be firm now. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to cover everything. People have gone through the process, democratic process of submitting the questions beforehand, and they've collated it. So I'm going to stick to that. And I just want to point out that there is, you will have networking opportunities after to meet up with the individuals and discuss other things. And they've also said that it is not the end. We can still fit into the process. So please let us focus on that. And I don't want any party politics here. I don't belong to any party. I'm here to be objective so that we can put in our objective views. I want to acknowledge Marth Kutrop. Where is he? He's here. There's a paper he's actually written inside your pack. He's an expert on the Constitution and author of the Africa Program, establishing rules of the games, because they've taken us into some rules of the games, changing constitutions. Could you just say in 2 minutes some key things? 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Yes. 2 minutes.
I don't know if I should have a microphone, which I probably should. For inviting me. I think I'll try to sort of be brief, and I suppose the overall impression here is that there's some misgivings about things. There's a moderate element of dissatisfaction, and I have a very distinguished colleague in Germany who said a certain degree of moderate dissatisfaction serves to benefit the state. So I suppose the fact that there is a moderate degree of dissatisfaction in debate here is a healthy sign. I suppose what I would focus on is the engagement process, which the Right Honourable gentleman mentioned before, and there is an unprecedented element of public participation, which is a good thing. However, being sort of slightly the devil's advocate here, it can also have a number of, it can increase a number or lead to a number of difficulties. For instance, in 1998, sorry if I'm using examples here, but it sometimes helps. In 1998 in Brazil, they had a similar process, and they wanted to accommodate pretty much everybody and ended up with a constitution which is 40,000 words long, which is sort of a small book, which has made it slightly unworkable. So that's a possible problem. The other possible problem has been in Uganda, where they had when they drafted their constitution, they afterwards asked people what they felt about the constitutional system, and a number of the people who actually participated were quite unsatisfied because they felt, yes, they had been heard, but they hadn't really been listened to. So what I'm perhaps saying, and I'll try to keep my 2 minutes, is that it's important that that process is managed in an appropriate way, and it's not always easy. The other thing, which is also very laudable, and I think that I warmly endorse, is the fact that there will be an opportunity afterwards to have a referendum so that people will have a say. Again, I think it's brilliant that is happening. However, the problem with the people is that they sometimes have a will of their own. I think it was... I think the European Commission certainly were against referendums after that they had rejected the European Constitution. And if we go slightly closer to home, in Kenya in 2005, after they'd had a long process of public engagement, there was a referendum there, which of course was defeated. So I think the danger of such so-called downstream constraints is that you always run the risk of the people voting no. So it's just another one of those things that, the changes aren't automatically agreed to, and even quite good documents, such as the Kenyan one, can be rejected. Now I'll stop. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the second theme is on gender issues in terms of the questions and women in National Assembly and representation of the marginalized group. Is Sakina Badamusi here? Do you want to ask the question on behalf of everyone?
Thank you very much. My name is Sakina. I go to the LSE and I also work for the Global Policy Journal. Thank you very much for this session. My question is regarding female representation in the parliament. Nigeria has a very, very poor record in terms of gender equality. And when we compare ourselves to other African countries, for example, Rwanda has 56% female representation, Senegal 42%, Burundi 30%, and Nigeria has only 6.7% female representation in parliament. What plans does this constitution review have in place to correct this gap? And also, what kind of impact would that have in wider society? Thank you.
Okay. So who wants to go first on women? Yes.
Yes.
The amendments you proposed.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Yes, I agree with you. Nigeria is down the ladder in terms of gender participation in politics. In terms of constitutional review, what we are proposing is an amendment of a section of the Constitution where you talk of federal character. You should also put gender. Just a one-line amendment. In consideration, federal character as well as gender. We made that proposal in the last parliament because we are just 25 and 340, how many men? The amendment did not succeed. So we're hoping, under the very, very gender sensitive, a man we all love very much, very handsome, very intelligent, deputy speaker, House of Representatives. No, he's the head of the Constitutional Review, chair of the Constitutional Review Committee. I hope we can get this amendment through this time around. There's also a bill in Parliament which I am sponsoring, which is dealing not just about number, not about 35%, not about number, but about total emancipation of the Nigerian woman, economic, social, political emancipation of the Nigerian woman. I believe, again, this very gender-sensitive House will pass that bill into law. It's a bill put together by female NGOs that we have amalgamation of what bothers us as women. So I hope that this time around we can have better participation, but beyond constitutional review. You know, I think it goes beyond that. Beyond amending the Constitution, the party structures in Nigeria are not gender sensitive. If we don't have anybody at the top echelon in any political party in Nigeria, you know, if you are not there where decisions are taken, the possibility of having higher women participation is very limited. So we are hoping that we are appealing to the various parties to ensure that women are represented at the very top. I can guarantee that the new party coming up, the APC, is making that a priority because it's already the man. And I'm not being political. It's a major aspect of the manifesto and the Constitution. So that is very critical in terms of gender participation. And beyond that, we also said that, fine, we're just 25 women in the House of Representatives. We don't have a female governor. We don't have... But the few women there need to be role models for the other women to encourage female participation in politics. If you ask me, is it easy? It is not easy. It's a very, very difficult task. Sometimes I wonder whether I'm happier or sadder. But whichever way, it is not an easy task. And women, again, another challenge is don't wait for anybody to... You know, if you believe in yourself, come out and do it. I was on television for 15 years. Nobody begged me to come into politics. I got up and said I was going to do it. It wasn't easy, but to God be the glory when has remained consistent. You need to have the courage as a woman to get up and show seriousness and always add value to whatever you do so that you'll be taken seriously. You know, if you're taken seriously, I tell you, by the time we all come together and use our votes and our number, come, maybe not 2015, but another 4 years, we're going to have 325 women in Parliament and maybe 30-something men. Okay. But honestly speaking, for this Parliament, there's been a lot of cooperation and support for women issues. We only hope that we can continue that way. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm back again. Sorry, I don't want you to misconstrue my position. I'm gender friendly also. But this issue of gender representation is a very, very difficult issue. Why it is difficult? Because you are referring to elective positions, not appointive.
That's correct.
So it's left for you to mobilize, because the women, you have the population, you have the number. So you should blame yourselves if you are defeated in an election. It's not for anybody to fight for you. You have to fight for yourself through the ballot paper. Unless there will be proportional representation based on specialized or special interest groups. That's the only way where specific percentage of the seat can be left for the women. But with time, we're growing up. My very close friend and my immediate neighbor, both here and in the House of Reps, Abike has been in the House. This is the third time. She has been elected freely. So if you work hard, I'm sure you are going to get that. In the last presidential election, there was a woman who contested, and she got just 1 vote. So when the women in the House came back, we said, every day you are here shouting for women liberation, women representation, and all of you, nobody, apart from our own vote, nobody voted for her. All the women that are there. So your problem lies with you people. You should mobilize yourselves and liberate yourselves from this type of problem. Thank you.
Who's clapping? Look at the men clapping. See the men clapping. See the men clapping.
So you got to wear the shoes to feel it.
Very briefly.
He wants to say. Excuse, quiet please. Quiet please. We haven't finished. Excuse me please. We haven't finished. You want to say something?
Yeah, I will very briefly. I really sympathize with my sister here. I think you need to know those things that you have been doing so well that made you to succeed. And other women should follow the kind of thing you do to win. But we should not be denying the voters the choice or the right to choose who they want to choose. That is not to say that I'm against women, but I believe that democracy allows for choice. Interest groups, yes, but I don't think it would be right for any political party, or in fact a National Assembly, or indeed any legislature, to say that this percentage of seats in the National Assembly or in the State Assembly should be reserved for women, because that would be denying the voters the right to choose. Secondly, I'm sure my friend and colleague was referring to Sarah Jibril, who contested against the current president in the primaries, and she scored only a vote. That goes to show a lot of things. That is to say that women do not have a common front. In fact, our colleagues in the National Assembly will tell you they are not women. When it favors them to say they are not women, they will say they are simply legislators. I was speaking with Honorable Dabiri-Erewa when we were coming in. He said somebody said there are no women in the National Assembly. And I said, sometimes they will say they have association of female legislators. That is when they want to promote an interest that is exclusive to theirs to take an advantage. But on a more serious note, I think there is need for our women in Nigeria to continue to do those things that those who are in the assembly today have been doing for a long time. That is, they have been performing wonderfully well. They defeated men, and they have secrets on how they defeated men in their constituencies. But I don't think it's going to sell if you come up with a constitutional amendment that seeks to set aside a certain percentage of seats in the legislature in Nigeria. I don't think it's going to work.
Bill like that. Let me just get it right. There's no, is the amendment, when you say federal character, also gender, it's not elective. It is in terms of women you have in various, I mean, if you think of where I come from, think of my gender, it's not elective. We said in terms of elective, work should be done at the party level. It's at the party level you decide who you want to put there. So what we're saying is this: if I'm qualified, don't look at me and say, no, I don't want you because you're a woman. You know, he who feels it knows it. Like, it's not as easy as when you come. Yes, we are hardworking, and we have competent women who can move this country forward. And I tell you, any nation that puts its women forward, it's better for that nation. We are less corrupt, good managers, and we're fair-minded. So it's not, we're not asking for seats. That is in terms of not elective positions, but appointed positions.
No, it's okay.
And we're not even saying 35. We're saying that when you look at federal character, also look at gender. That is it. And we know that, it's more difficult for a woman to come here and contest an election, but the women are doing it. And when you give us an enabling environment, you're going to have more women participate. You're going to tell me that you're holding meetings late in the night, and there are no late night meetings. You have to be there to know that it's all a way of discouraging women. But I've said that women, if you come together, if you come together as a group, if all women say, I'm choosing one woman, if we say we're choosing you, we're standing by you, win that election, I agree that is a challenge to all of us. If we stand together and say, that's the who we so whether you're a man or a woman, let us decide who rules us. We have the number, we have the power. It doesn't have to be a woman, but somebody who has the interest of women at heart. That's what we're saying.
That's good. That's okay. That's good.
Anyway, if you go to item 29 of the template, which we circulated to you, you will find out that the gender-sensitive committee on constitutional review in the House, if I may borrow Abike's words, and explicitly stated to ask, should the Constitution be further amended to address gender issues, including but not limited to reserving certain percentage of elective offices for women? I mean, how better can you put it? How better can you put it? So we will unveil the results in the course of unveiling the results of the other results. And when that comes, we'll be able to know how well our constituencies voted. But there again, we have mothers, we have wives, we have sisters, we have daughters, and we love our daughters. We love our wives, we love our mothers, and we love our girlfriends. So, oh yes, oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. And so, I mean, so you see, the hold, you see, women have a very strong hold. No, women have a very strong hold on us. Now, but it all depends on how well you're able to manage your campaign. If you manage your campaign, and I've said to our colleagues in the House, I mean, the House leader is a woman. And she will tell you she has a very wonderful relationship with us. We don't discriminate against her, we cooperate with her, and we protect her. Abike is one chairman we appreciate, that we respect. And I mean, she's a woman, it's not an issue. She was a woman when we made her chairman of Committee on Media and Publicity to be the spokesperson of the House. She's a woman when we made her chairman of Committee on Diaspora, which is the face of the House out there. I mean, so the chairman of Committee on Foreign Affairs in the House is a lady. We had a female speaker. I mean, you all know, I mean, you asked us to do what we did. And the reasons were clear. I mean, so we've given our ladies fair enough chance. So this is yet an opportunity. And when the results are out, we'll publish the results and you see how the constituencies voted. I mean, I will not for any reason, for any cause, in spite of the level of love I have for them, I won't go and doctor this document. So the results of the people's vote would show. I mean, but she said something. We'll not stop encouraging the best of our women to come out. I mean, once you have a very good woman running for an office, the person comes with a lot of sympathy. You must give it to that person. Once a woman has shown that she has capacity, that she has what it takes to be out there, I mean, you give her. But if a woman that is a low person, lowly rated in society is running for an office, of course nobody will turn his or her eyes. Look, you talked about my sister Sarah Jabri. I said, Auntie, what happened? We have a national woman leader who is a woman. In the PDP constitution, for instance, compulsory delegates are 36 state women leaders. Women leaders of the party. These are compulsory delegates, compulsory. The PDP, liberal enough, we also have place of the 3 delegates that would emerge in each ward as delegate. One of them must be a woman. I mean, so how liberal can you be? I mean, do you understand? Women don't pay for forms the much that we pay. that gives them a head start. But you must manage yourself. I mean, like Abike has been defeating men. I'm sure if a man wants to run against Abike in her constituency, he has to think twice. When you are conscious that you can do the business, you go in. She floors you as usual, you go back home. Yes, you go back home. But she's a woman. I mean, so the point is, you must build up yourself. You don't just begin to say to us, oh, don't blackmail us. If it's about blackmail, the man will say, so whose constituency are you taking over? Because that's what the question they ask. And if you talk about appointment, every other man needs an appointment also. Every other man needs an appointment. If you run for an election and you don't win, the next thing you focus your attention is on appointments. I mean, so we have to be fair. The battle is yours to win and yours to lose. So I ask you to come back home and join Abike and increase the capacity of women and the numbers in the various constituencies. Thank you very much.
I think the issue has been seriously deliberated upon, and my personal opinion here is that you must also look at where you are coming from. The cultural issues are there. You can't run away from them. Britain is not the same like Nigeria. Essentially, when you go into the core north, they have their own beliefs. But for us, I think we should look at this issue from another point. We should be purely the issue of appointments. Because you have our constitution there. The constitution guarantees that freedom of opinion. I think, if I'm not wrong, it's section 39. But when you look at the provision of section 42, which probably you can take a look at, it has placed women and men equal, because it states there very clearly that everybody should be given that equal treatment. And there should be no law, all right? No law that deprives any man or a woman or whatever any opportunity. I think if you read it, it will be clearer. So even amending the constitution to give women some elective position becomes a clear violation of that provision. But I think we should look at it to the issue of appointment. And we cannot decide to say, okay, we have 360 constituencies. At the end of the day, however it's going to be done, let's probably reserve about 50 seats that can, be added, which could be used as an appointment. I think that is the standard that other countries are using. But if you go into election, it becomes, something where freedom of opinion comes in, and the right to vote becomes my personal opinion. I vote for whoever I want to vote, and when I'm going to vote there, I'm going to look at the criteria, the arguments and all the rest, and I may decide to vote for the woman or vote for the man. But it is the Nigerian people that takes this decision. It is not we. So let's look at our election process, and if we want to really be gender sensitive, like the women we want us to be, which we all want to be, then it should be clearly the issue of appointment. I don't see how they can achieve this through election. That is my opinion. I may be wrong.
I think there is point of information. In Yobe State, my state, we have a member of the House of Representatives who was elected twice, Khadija Bukaraba Ibrahim. So even in the far north, the core north, Khadija is from my state, and she was elected twice. She's still in the House. So this is to show that we have...
We are changing.
People are changing. It depends on the kind of person you put forward. So I think it's for women to look for the best candidates and present, and they can defeat men, hands down.
Oh, thank you for that. And we will take questions after we've gone through the themes, but we will take some questions after we've gone through all the themes. The website that Deputy Speaker keeps on mentioning for the gender-sensitive questionnaire for all the men and women is www.hcrc.org.ng. Do you want me to repeat it again? www.hcrc.org.ng. Okay, so in terms of downloading and getting involved in the discussions, and any other issues on the Constitution review. So that's the website. I'll repeat it again at the end. The third theme in terms of the questions that came in, and I would take questions after we've gone through the fine themes in terms of capturing everybody else. We're going to run a little bit late, if you don't mind. Is on strengthening of local government, and I'd like to invite Olubunmi Ajayi to ask the question. We haven't finished, sir. We still have two more things. Liz, I hope the other questions are going to be asked by men. We don't want to be accused of gender sensitive here.
Good morning. My name is Dr. Olubunmi Ajayi, and I head the African Commission for Local Government Improvement. I'd like to start by seconding Senator Lawan's comments on the critical imperative to reform local government. As we know, without any doubt, improved local government is an imperative for accountable government. And my comments will be relating to items number 10 to 12, I believe, on the template that we've got. Yes, number 10 to 12. And I agree with Senator Lawan that economic and political autonomy is good for local governments, but it must be supported with mechanism for transparency and accountability, combined with capability, strategy, and visionary leadership. The first question I have, my question is kind of threefold, which relates to those 3 points. The first one is it time for local government to be considered to be a sphere of government and not a tier of government? Because tiers is kind of dated now, and it's kind of more like a colonial legacy. And it's also kind of derogatory. It implies a hierarchy. And we know that local government is the blood artery that connects citizens to power. So it should not be seen as the third tier of government, but rather a very important sphere of government that has clarified purpose in the new constitution, clarified mandate, clarified powers and functions, and has ring-fenced money for development. The second thing relating to number 3, I think, it's very important. We've got the Association for Local Government of Nigeria, but they're not written into the Constitution of Nigeria, or not given the recognition that they deserve. One does not say they are effective. I wouldn't want to make any comments on the effectiveness because I do not know. But we know that in countries such as South Africa, Botswana, and countries, they have strong local government associations which are actually built into the constitution of the countries like Solga and Bala. And finally, on the question of should money be given directly to local governments as we approach the devolution of local government in Nigeria, one would argue that that will be quite premature because the local government systems are not strong enough to be able to deal with the responsibility of financial devolution at the moment. But that must certainly be addressed in the Constitution as something that needs to be done to strengthen local government. And that relates to the question about the lack of a ministry for local government in Nigeria, unlike other countries in Nigeria. While I argue that having a ministry of local government that has a well-established executive and legislative arm and instituted direct allocation of funds to local government without passing through the state government is worthy of consideration in the new constitution. Thank you.
Yeah, I think the issue of local government is very, very important, and we believe that is the grassroots. If we want development, it must start from the grassroots. Let me further state here that election process is very important also in every local government. The will of the people should be the most important thing. What we are actually trying to correct in respect of this amendment is the pressure that comes from the states. The provision of Section 162 sub 6 has created a joint account. And you realize that which all of them will also testify to that most of these funds don't get to the local government. We seek financial independence for this local government. What we are actually trying to do here is to make sure that whatever resources that comes in gets to the local government. I don't know when we will get there. No law in our country authorizes you as a chairman to defraud the local government. What we should be looking at is purely transparency. So in this scenario, we need to elect respected and reputable people into those offices. This is where the decision of the people matters most. It becomes important because the whole accounting system are there, but the state have almost usurped these functions. And there you can hardly see the difference between the local government and the states. So separate these two. It's more of an impossibility because the process of amending the Constitution requires the acceptance of the State House of Assemblies that are controlled by the governors. It's an uphill task. But I think that the journey has started. For anybody to tell us today that, no, you need to probably put a structure in place before you give them funding, I totally disagree with that. That's why I said I'm trying to disagree with my distinguished senator that, no, the financial independence is the most important thing first. And respect for the rule of law, transparency will take the people's there. Because the people will speak. If they see you not using the money effectively, they will come, they will confront you because you are closer to them. They know who and who they are going to elect. So I think financial independence for the local government is autonomous. And as per the issue of the ministry you mentioned, it is a little bit alien to our constitution because ministries are run mostly by the federal government. The clear principle of separation of power in our federation is there. We don't have a ministry for state governments. So I think it would be a little bit alien to have a ministry for the local government because there are three different arms of government. The local government is clearly recognized as an arm of government. But the unfortunate aspect is that the provision of Section 7 of our Constitution has modeled up the powers there and given it clearly to the House of Assemblies. So if you separate these things, you will see respectable men and women going into the local government for elections. And where they are there, I'm sure they will reform the system.
Yes, yes. Okay. Well, Doctor, my advice would be that we are all involved in the process of campaigning for constitutional amendments. And I have a stake, you have a stake. If you consider yourself a stakeholder, posterity would ever remember you to have championed the cause of leading a campaign that has ensured that local governments, I mean, they could be, you said they should be considered as a sphere of government, but you have to market it. So how well have you done?
I'm working on it.
You're working on it. Time may not be your friend, so I will urge you to aggressively begin to, once you put your ideas together, begin to aggressively market it and ensure that the right quarters, you get your message to the right quarters. Then, again, we canvass positions. I ask you to watch out for the results that will come out. If results are out and there's overwhelming desire by Nigerians to have local governments have autonomy, I urge all of you to begin the process of marketing it. You now begin to urge not just National Assembly to ensure we uphold the decision of the people, but also the state governments. Because if you don't do that, then that would also be an effort in futility. So we'll do our part and you do your part. And that's why we said to you, have our mail addresses and then begin to work on the web so that let's engage ourselves positively. We should not spend time on the internet abusing ourselves and talking about things that will not help national development. Let us rather talk about things that would enhance national development because we're about to recreate our country. And recreating our country requires us and you. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Chair. Doctor, I want to further say that this is one area that is even most difficult because here you have the State House of Assembly in the Constitution given the mandate to design how the local governments function, the administration, and the structure. And that is the political control. And the local government and the State House of Assembly have oversight functions in the local governments. The second leg, which adds to the problem, is the governors getting some free funds, so to speak, that they utilize on behalf of the local governments. So it's not going to be easy for the State House of Assembly to just free the local governments as we would wish to have them do, and the governors will surely fight it. In fact, they have mentioned it. The governor, the chairman, Nigeria Governors Forum said they said the local government shouldn't have any autonomy. Clearly, they are opposed to it. So I believe that it is only a wish for now that the local government should be free. But I believe very strongly that even when it is possible to give the local governments the financial autonomy and the political autonomy, we must have local government systems that can deliver. It's not about money. It's about transparency and probity. It's about efficiency and effectiveness of delivery of services to the people. Right now, I don't think there's any local government, I don't know, that can do that. You can give them a lot of money, but how do they use it? Do they have the capacity? The local councillors, don't even know that they have legislative powers. The chairman single-handedly gets whatever little he gets from the state, goes into a hotel and just design what he wants. There is nothing like budget presentation and budget defense by the council, because they don't even know that they have functions like that. And the process through which most of the local government chairmen and councillors are produced is a faulty process. The governor simply appoints someone or nominates someone to run for the office, and even the councillors. So at the end of the day, these are people who must return favor. They can't fight. So I believe there is a long way to go. It is not impossible, but I think it's a very difficult task. Thank you.
Well, I'll just reiterate the points made. You know, I agree with you, there should be spheres of government, but you also added that perhaps it's premature for financial devolution. You see, what matters at this point in time is the quality of people that are heading the local government. And you see, we have to, as far as I'm concerned, the local government is perhaps the most important level of government. It is the most important. You know, during 9/11, you saw the mayor of New York in front and the governor at the back. So we need to get to that level, and it has to start with a lot of awareness. And then what we keep saying, that the power belongs to the people. Look, the money they are getting now, what are they doing with it? Every month, or is it every quarter, the Minister of Finance actually publishes whatever goes to local governments. You know, but you go to some local governments, even if it's 10 million naira, you cannot tar a small road in your local government. You know, and I think the issue of local government is also, it paints a picture of the total problem with politics in Nigeria today. There has to be transparency, there has to be commitment and the passion to bring about change. I'm sure that if you have the right people at the local government level today, it doesn't matter what you're getting. At this point in time, you can't make it different. So I think it's also part of the total problem we're having as a nation. And I keep saying that the people, the power belongs to the people. How many people knock on the door of their local government chairman and say, what have you done? What are you doing? We all sit back. You see, the councillor doesn't even know, like you said, that he has a role to play. They have their own legislative structure. You ask councillors and they don't even understand what they should be doing. Yes. You know, most people don't even know who their councillors are. Not talk of they have their assembly, but they don't even know. So it's a lot of work, which I think you really have to do, and we all have to do. And like they said, the challenge is not with the National Assembly. If we pass the law, if we amend the Constitution, what about the states? So that's it.
Okay. I would like to concur with most of what my colleagues have said. This issue is a two-edged sword, because based on experience, when local government used to have their full autonomy, there was serious problem of corruption, non-payment of salaries, especially that of teachers. Then when those problems were known, this issue of joint account came about. So the major problem is the governors. In our own system, they have an overbearing influence. The governors, they corner the whole money of local government, only giving the council chairman money just to pay salaries and allowances. That's all. No any capital project. That's why you see the issue of this insecurity is becoming more prevalent, especially in the northern part, because of the collapse of local government system. Because in the past, most people who don't have anything to do, they'll go to local government to get some succor. So the issue of governors is the major issue, because in all other aspects where governors were given full powers, it has been abused. We are just talking of The second, we are talking of the political process, that you cannot contest from councillorship to senator if you don't have the backing of a governor. So all over, even at the center, they determine they have their own governors forum, which is whose power is now being challenged at the center. So it's just like what Honorable Leo said. I think the most important thing is to have the autonomy, but the process of recruitment of those who are going to man local government should be what the people should concentrate on. Because if you say that our councillors don't know, then get those who can do it. Even a retired permanent secretary can decide, like what happened in Benue State. A former deputy governor decided to go and contest for councillorship in his own local government. So I think that can be done. Everybody should just see it as a call to service. There is no need to relegate any position. If you really want to serve your people, you can go for any position. Even if you are once a president, you can decide to come and be a councillor in your local government to put eye and see what is really happening. That's my
Thank you. Thank you. The next theme is on the creation of additional new states. Uche Igwe. Uche? See, this is a man. So.
Thank you, Madam. Thank you, Madam Chair. And also thank you to all the panelists and the Honorable Deputy Speaker for an eloquent speech. I just thought that before I ask you my question, I will take us to page 8 and the second or third paragraph, because we need to consider process. And I was just thinking that the process of, it's good to talk about the emergence of a people's constitution, but I think that this is a very complicated process, the process of getting the 2/3 majority of the parliament at the national level, and also at least 2/3 of the 36 houses of assembly. The same houses of assembly who could not vote for their own financial autonomy. So I have a problem with the process, and I'm sure that some people share that concern. But let me go to the reason why I was called, and that is the question of additional states. There is a clamor for a creation of an additional state in the southeast. The southeast zone, for those who do know, is the only zone that still has only 5 states. Other zones have 6 states. And I was just thinking that, in relation to the first concern I raised, how feasible is this? And is state creation really the issue? And how many states? And I saw that it was on number 2 and number 3 of the issues. I hear about Upper State, for those who are grounded in Nigeria. There's a clamor to create an additional state from, somewhere around Benue State or so. And I just wanted to put around the table, Mr. Co-Chair, you have a difficult task ahead of you. How many states do we really need? And is it possible to get 2/3 majority of the parliament and 2/3 majority of the House of Assemblies to support an additional state for the Southeast Zone? I rest my case, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I think, Mr. Igwe, the answer for yourself, the answer is very clear. What we did here, and that was why I insisted I needed to read the paper. What we did here was just to extract the provisions of the Constitution. The Constitution is our Bible, is our Quran. You cannot do anything, you can't amend the Constitution from outside the constitutional provision itself. And that's why we said, when people are talking about referendum, we said the Constitution does not provide for a referendum as it is. We have been very clear about this. So all we stated was what the Constitution has provided. The processes and procedure are very clear. Arm yourself with your Constitution, and you will know that that is what must be done. It's not about a wish. My wish and your wish is not important. What is important is how well we're able to market this matter for you to get 2/3 of members of the National Assembly supporting your position. If you are lucky, you package a good case, whether it's a past state or whatever. Once you have 2/3, it goes. If you don't have 2/3, you don't pafuka. 2 is a case of desirability of an additional state. Obviously, some people still feel very strongly about it. But again, none of us here can honestly say this is what will happen. When we get the results, we get back home. At the National Assembly, the way and mode of presentation, the way and manner of marketing, the way and manner of your conviction is what can either sell your point or defeat your point. So we can't be preemptive. It's about 360 members. Each member has an equal vote. On this issue, no presiding officer can tell you how to vote. Nobody attempts it because you're only voting according to the wishes of your constituents. That's just it. I'm sure before we vote on constitutional amendment, more than I know that, this is constitutional review is not one amendment that everybody will be called upon. Again, you call Honorable Abike Dabiri, she will answer her name, stand up and tell you where she votes because there's no voice vote in constitutional amendments. No voice vote, you don't raise your hand, you get up, and we must fix our electronic voting system for that purpose. And everybody, where you vote, will be stated very clearly. That's true. It will be stated very clearly. We've tried it, Honorable Lawan. Okay, you were in the Senate then. When third term failed, you were with us.
Yes. No, I voted in the Senate.
No, when third term failed.
Oh, okay. I was in the House.
You were we will just call you, you stand up, and you say the position of your constituency. Be very transparent, just be patient. When you get there, you will know how it happens. So don't preempt the process. Yes, on each clause. That's what I'm saying. On each clause. Like if, for instance, we have bills. If we have bills on each of the 43 items, for instance, we are going to have to vote on each of them one by one. What if we get to clause 1, for instance? Should we amend clause 77, like the one on diaspora voting? If we get there, the speaker will call on the 359 members, because that particular one, because the deputy speaker is the chairman of the committee that will present the report. He doesn't chair. Ordinarily, the deputy chair chairs all the committees of the whole in consideration of report. But for this particular one, because the deputy speaker is the chairman of the committee that is doing the work, he cannot chair. He has to step down, and the speaker would chair the process of voting for constitutional review. So on each of them, the speaker will call constituency by constituency, whenever in a hurry. If we have 10 items to vote on, 10 of them, each of the 359 members will vote on each of them. It's a very rigorous process. It can take us 5 days, but we must complete it. That's what the Constitution says. And what we normally do is that we send messages to all members, requesting members that have gone on oversight function or whatever to make sure they're back, because they're coming back to vote on behalf of your constituency. You won't be happy that your constituent has not voted. And so that's why it's very important. So we always give time, announce that time, and tell you we're voting on so purposely on constitutional amendment, and then you begin the process of lobbying.
I think you've said it all.
Yes.
Well, I think this is one of the few difficult amendments that we seek to do. If we are talking about creating more states, it may appear a little bit easier, because if you vote for only a state to be created, your people will ask you, so we don't need a state, an additional state in our place? So I think we can achieve this, even though it's going to be difficult, but we can achieve it if we're able to sell the idea properly. But my take is, do we really consider state creation to be the basis for development? I think you can create a structure and call it a state, but the fact is we have been having states that have not been performing, that have not been delivering. And whether we have additional state or not, I think we need to be very concerned with performance of our states, because Lagos is performing. it's a fact. It's a fact. Why do I say Lagos is performing? Because Lagos generates funds, internally generated revenue, to the tune of 22 billion per month. And then they run the state. It's not just enough to collect statutory allocations from Abuja and put some structures. In fact, many states collect and they don't put anything. The few that collect and put something, to me, they're not doing anything extraordinary. Extraordinary it can be if you are able to generate resources and develop the state. So I think there is also need to emphasize on how the state structures can be more effective. And I have no problem, for example, voting for an additional state. But I think the issue is going to be very difficult because, and I'm being very frank, because everybody will vote and in return expect something. So if you vote for a state, for example, in the Southeast, what do you give me? Because it's a trade-off. And I'm sure our colleagues from the Southeast will be able to convince a majority of the National Assembly members to vote because they will also get something in return. Thank you very much.
Well, I don't think I have much to add. Just to say that, just to stress Senator Lawan's point, I think we're getting really lazy. Some governors spend more time in Abuja than in their states because you just come and collect money. If we get a little bit more creative, there's no state in Nigeria that doesn't have natural resources that you can develop and develop your state. You know, Lagos works very hard at generating revenue and using that revenue for the benefit of the people. So I think we need to encourage our governors to spend more time in their states, be a bit more creative, and look at how we can generate more revenue. This oil is going to dry up very, very soon. America has said to us, in another 2 years, we're going to cut what we're buying from you by 50%. So we need to look beyond more state. You can have a state, but maybe no money for you. If you can find a way of making your state productive and getting more money, nobody is stopping. But it's all about money, 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 money.
I think just like the other previous speakers have said, the issue is not creating more states, but how to manage our scarce resources. I sympathize with my brothers and colleagues, especially from the Southeast. Yes, they need a state, but how do they get it? The process is so cumbersome, so long, that even the 6th geopolitical zone is not even recognized in the Constitution. I think it was a concept first brought by Dr. Alias Kweme during the 1995 Constitutional Conference. So it has no any legal backing anywhere. Because if you want to create state, what are the bases? Is it based on size? Is it based on population? Is it based on region? Or what have you? I think this is a very difficult and cumbersome issue that we have to be very careful when it comes to state creation.
Thank you. Everybody has this question in their pack, because I think at the end we should do our own voting here. And you know, this question and answer, so we can at least understand our collective views and present it to you as at least some of what we're feeding back. So if we won't be able to, I don't think we'll be able to vote on all the, we haven't finished, we won't be able to vote on all the questions, but if you start looking at it, and maybe we just do 1 to 20 as a sample.
Diaspora voting is not
Pardon? We should do everything. Okay, we will do everything. Just start looking at it.
Just read it.
No, but at the end. At the end.
Why don't you do
collation
that we did in our constituency?
Is there anybody that...
Okay. Yeah, okay. Okay, and then Liz, where is Liz? Or somebody from Chatham House will be the presiding officer, because I have to vote too.
You don't have a voting right.
Okay. Okay. So the other question is that came in was immunity from prosecution. Joseph Ogbonna, where is he? Yes. Excuse me, please. The man holding the mic, he needs the mic to ask the question. And this was immunity from prosecution.
For governors and presidents.
He will ask the question.
Okay. My question, the background to my question is, looking around the world, progress in most countries comes from enterprise. It's not from the state, from enterprise. And my question is, what provision in this constitution will ensure that the Nigerian legal system will function so that no person, government, or other organization will be above the law? It is my conviction that a functioning legal system is top priority because it will foster contractual agreements, collaboration in enterprise, and therefore progress. So the question again is, what in this constitution will ensure that the Nigerian legal system will function so that no one organization is above the law?
Okay.
Yes.
Well, for me, I don't think any organization or anybody is above the law in Nigeria. The judicial system is perfectly there. And if you're talking about immunity, I think probably, if I'm not wrong, that might be Section 308 of the Constitution. But the issue here is that the problem it might create, what that section is stating clearly is that while somebody is in office, the president, the vice president, the governor, and the deputy governor should be immune from civil and criminal issues. But that does not really freeze him totally. As soon as he's out of office, you can take up those issues and then still face him up in the law courts. But if he is there carrying out that collective responsibility, today is in this court and you know what it means. The next day is in there running after one civil issue. He or she might not have time to concentrate on the business of governing. So the concept there is that should we allow them to continue like that, but after their tenure, they can face the civil or criminal issue? I think that is the question that you have here, but that doesn't mean that we have concluded. If the people decide that no, the trial must go on, whether he's in office or not, it's a non-issue to us because it's the voice of the people that will carry out in the amendment process. But the fact remains that no human being living in Nigeria is above the law. The law is very, very clear there. The provision of Section 6 of the Constitution has clearly stated that the judicial powers of the federations are clearly vested in the courts. So it is left for you to follow up your issues. If you don't follow them up, it becomes your own problem. But if the president, at the moment as the Constitution stands, he or she cannot be taken to any law court for any issue because the Constitution has granted him that immunity. But as soon as he's out of office, he faces those issues. If you look at some of these governors that were in office, a lot of them were, charged for embezzlement as soon as they left office. And some of them are even still facing the FCCs to the present day. So the system actually gave them some level of immunity while serving. Thank you.
Yes, I want to talk about it. Okay, I believe that every constitution should reflect the culture and the history of the people. We are coming from a military background, and the military bequeathed the constitution to us. The nature of our society, where politics determines almost everything, and most considerations are political. I think, for me, I believe that we should have immunity for governors, for president, for vice president, and deputy governors on civil issues, civil cases. But once criminal issues are involved, it's my opinion, the president should face the law, the vice president, the governor, and the deputy governor. What happens today, to my mind, is just a show. When a governor completes his tenure, he's bundled by EFCC for 2-3 days. The papers will be awash with stories that the former governor of this state is in the custody of EFCC. And then after about a week, you hear no more. I think if we are able to really prosecute offenders once they complete their tenures, prosecute them properly as the law provides, that immunity clause will still subsist and people will be happy with it. But in a situation where nothing happens, except first 2 days you see someone appearing with the FCC, people around him, and then he disappears. And in fact, in many cases, you don't even hear the story at all until if the person raises something against government, or maybe he has some kind of interest, and maybe the government is not comfortable with it, then the issue will be dusted again. They say, you have an EFCC case, and when he says, I surrender, the EFCC case is going to be hibernating somewhere. And, you know, so I don't think that encourages Nigerians to believe that this immunity clause is serving them. Otherwise, I have no difficulty accepting in civil cases, the governors, the president should be allowed to stay on until they complete their tenures. Otherwise, you have a governor or a president who is, especially the governors, they won't have any time to stay in the office. Nigerians will take them to court for almost everything. And at the end of the day, everybody will lose out, because if they don't perform, we all suffer. So I think the immunity clause is a serious issue that will be voted for. People are passionate. In fact, people are emotional about it. But the reality is, it is not because of the provision that we have a problem. It's because of the implementation of the provision. People are not tried properly when they leave office. Thank you very much.
Well, it's not something that I really, well, I guess partial immunity is what I'll also join in. But beyond that, really, I think, let's face it, we're in a society where we celebrate corruption. We worship money, we worship power. You know, those governors are products of that society. When you, somebody is obviously stealing your money and you still hero worship him, then what do you expect? And you know, look at the situation where a civil servant, an assistant director, takes almost 60 billion, some huge billions of money, pension fund, over 200 billion naira pension fund, and he's walking about freely. He's being protected. He took the National Assembly to say this man must be brought to book. Another one took billions, police pension, and he got a slap on the back from the EFCC, and he entered his car. 750,000. 750,000 got into this car and drove away. So let's look beyond whether it's civil or criminal. The fact is, if we celebrate corruption and worship it, it's going to continue to happen. So as a people, if you hold your governor accountable, it's not going to work for civil or criminal. If you know that you're asking him, what are you doing with the funds for this thing or that thing? He doesn't need to wait for civil or criminal. So I still believe that, I propagate the theory that the power is in our hands, actually, as the people, to decide what happens to our governors or not. And that's why you should vote women.
Are you sure?
Okay.
Are you sure?
Sure. Okay. My own, from my own perspective.
Quiet, please.
From my own perspective, the issue is not whether to have immunity clause or not to have immunity clause in the Constitution, because the issue is to have the political will to fight corruption. That's the most important thing. And in the case of Nigeria, it's only the governors, deputy governors, and the president that enjoy those immunities. What about other people in the judiciary, in the parliament, and other places? What about the people who have served as governors and president after their tenure? Nothing has happened to any of them up to this moment. So I think the major issue is to have a body or an independent prosecutor, so that everybody that has any fact can just go at any time and prosecute and take that person to court. Because what we have in Nigeria is a situation where Attorney General will decide on each case, and he may decide to terminate any case at any level. So the case of EFCC is a very clear case. It's being used as an attack dog, especially against political opponents. Once you're opposed to the government, the FCC will be sent after you. They will take you to court, they will harass you. But once you're with the government, no matter how you steal or commit any crime, you'll be free to move. I just like the example of my sister Abike, the issue of somebody who stole pensions money to the tune of, is it over? 247. At the end of the day, what the EFCC did was to take him and charge him based on penal code, not based on what is there in the EFCC Act, which stipulates more stringent penalties. So I think the major issue is the will to make this law and to have truly independent judiciary with independent prosecutors. Like those of you here, you can come back to Nigeria anytime if you have facts. Maybe because you're in UK, somebody has charged millions of pounds here. So once you have your file, you can just run there and take him to court with the facts you have. I think these are some of the areas we should be looking at. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I throw open the floor to just take comments, and they have to be brief, so I would suggest you think about how you're going to answer the question. No speeches, brief, 1 second, so that we can take as many as possible. Can we look at this and I'm just going to call the numbers that we've discussed, and if Liz will say yes, we're only going to do 7 because I think you will tick your answers and give it to Liz, and then Chatham House will compile the results and send it to all of us so we can see how we've voted on all of them, but just on 7 questions relating to the themes that were discussed. So the first one is on question 3. Should a state/states be created in order to bring parity to the number of states among the geopolitical zones? So if you agree, you will put up your hand now. If you, no, how do you? You don't want us to see each other? You just want to tick it? You don't want to show your hands? Why? Okay, so they will vote and give it to... No. So we'll just vote and give it to Liz. No, they don't want show of hands. I was ready to do show of hands, but they said no.
No. I think it's a private thing. It's a private thing. Let them
who wants show of hands? See, you are in the minority. You are in the minority? End of.
No, it's a private thing.
You are in the minority.
It's a private
thing. I said, who wants show of hands and put up? Can you count? Excuse me, we're doing democracy here, okay? So the question is, if you want show of hands for us to be able to say yes, no, agree, disagree, if you want us to do it just for 7 questions, themes, put up your hand now and Chatham House count. What's wrong with them? Why are they disagreeing? Okay, so...
It's a private thing. Allow them vote.
There's no need to disagree. You are already disagreeing. No. The people have spoken. Do you want to speak?
Thank you very much. Okay, let's do it this way. All those who want to have a show of hands on 5 or 7 questions, raise your hands now. Wait, 24, 25, thank you. Okay, all those who do not want to do a show of hands vote, raise your hands, please. 1, 2, 3, 4. 18, 19, 20. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, okay. This is what we'll do. So we have many abstentions. Okay, on this show of hands vote right now, if you're not comfortable to vote in this way, then please simply abstain. That's fine. You don't have to raise your hands, yes or no. You're welcome to vote differently on the paper. And what will happen is that we're going to count up all the numbers that, of course, there aren't going to be any names on any of these papers. We'll count up all the numbers. These are going to be published in a summary report we'll produce of this meeting. Okay, so if you're not comfortable participating, you don't have to, just abstain. Okay? All right.
So we have to do show of hands for those who are comfortable, okay? So the first one we're going to do a show of hands is, should a state, that's question 3, should a state/states be created in order to bring parity, excuse my, pronunciation if I don't get it right, to the number of states among the geopolitical zones? Now, yes? Who's, Liz, you're the presiding officer.
Twelve.
12.
Yes.
No?
Yes.
23. Don't know.
There's the one.
Okay, so no is 23.
Say abstain.
Abstain. It's not don't know, it's abstain. Okay, the question 12. Should local government councils be accorded the status of a third tier of government properly, so-called, with its legislative list? Yes?
Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
How many?
27.
28 plus high is 28.
Oh, you?
No? I'm in Nigeria. Why aren't I allowed to vote? Please, wait.
2 on the nose.
2 on the nose.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know. Yes, I'm neutral. I get your point. Don't know.
Don't know. 1, 2. Thank you.
3? Was it 3?
And then the next one.
Next one is 18. Should Section 308 be amended to make the immunity provision for President, Vice President, Governor, or Deputy Governor cover any civil proceedings while in office? Yes? Only civil cases. But it does only, notice it's only civil cases.
12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22.
22. No? Raise your hand high
5.
now. You don't want us to see you. Just joking.
That's 5 there.
How many?
Okay. 5.
Don't know.
Oh, that's pretty clear.
Okay.
If people aren't raising their hands, we're just assuming there's a whole bunch of abstentions.
Okay, number 29. Should the Constitution be further amended to address gender issues, including but not limited to reserving certain percentage of elective offices for women? Yes?
Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 16.
How many?
16.
Okay.
Did you count with us, sir?
All right. Sorry, the yeses, raise your hands again.
Oh, did you count with us?
No. 1, 2, 3, 4.
No, you are lobbying.
Put your hand high so they
You didn't hear that question.
No, she had. You don't lobby.
I'm at 19 now. 19.
The lady was the question.
That was 19.
How many?
19.
19. No? No? Well, I hope you are not putting your hand up.
10. That was 10 against. 10 against.
10. Don't know or abstain.
It's 1. Don't know. Thank you, Joseph. 2. 2 don't know.
2 don't know. Number 32. Should Section 77... Wait now, let me finish now. be amended to give Nigerians living outside the country in the diaspora voting rights. And please vote according to what you want. One hand, that's cheating. He did like this.
That's why we are here today.
I make it 35. You make it 37? And then I made it 33.
37?
Let's go with
Okay, no. No, disagree.
How many no's against diaspora voting? 1, 2, 3. Is that? Raise your hands, please, the no's. Okay, I count 4 no's. Four no's.
Please, people are entitled to express their opinion.
And
okay?
bearing in mind there are many abstentions, and we don't know what the abstentions are going to
So
say.
that's just a test. But in terms of actually, let's take it serious. Mark, tick whatever it is, and when you're going, hand it over to Chris, okay? And then we get a thing. But you see the challenges they go through in Nigeria. If we can't even vote in an open democracy, somebody's putting up 2 hands. He was trying to rig the elections. People trying to intimidate others for not allowing them to express their opinion. And that's just here. Okay, I'm going to, if you've asked questions before, don't put up your hand if you've already asked a question. And please, can you just keep it brief? We only have 20 minutes, and we have to go to the next session. Okay, and we're running late. So, God, how am I going to do this? Everybody can talk.
3 women, 1 man.
Okay, 3 women, 1 man. Okay. Alisa, no, put your hand down. You've asked a question. You can't ask a question again. I'll start with Mr. Dejuku. 2 minutes or 1 minute.
Good afternoon, everyone. The Honorable Deputy Speaker of the House, I want to thank you very much for your very comprehensive presentation and for giving us the opportunity to be part of the dialogue. I think part of what I want to talk about is economic planning for Nigeria.
Talk.
No, I'm just going to be very brief.
Okay.
My concern really is that the budgeting process and the priorities of government are not very clear to us, let me say, as Nigerians in diaspora. The budgeting process is cumbersome, it's late. We don't seem to have clarity in terms of what the priority programs are. The political parties that are engaged in the discussion they're not ideologically driven. I mean, take the APC, for example. We don't hear the big ideas about what they really want to do, what makes them better than the PDP, and what the APC states will represent. AC doesn't have a very clear political party agenda. We hear about Fashola, but there are other AC states, and they're not performing like Fashola. The same for PDP. We want a political discourse, perhaps, some sort of legislative agenda in the constitutional change process that defines political parties based on ideology, rather than just a case of grabbing power by coming together, buying votes, or whatever the process may be. We need to have a politically driven process that is driven purely by agenda of ideology for development.
Okay.
How many schools are going to be first class in primary, are going to be world class, primary, secondary schools, universities? I understand the issue of importance of time, but I think
Because
these are really part of what we need to be discussing.
It's just that there are others also.
Thank you.
And we do have to. So, I'm going to have all of you. If you really want others to ask the question, make a comment, stand up, and in less than 1 minute, just deliver what you want and sit down. No speech, please. I want to accommodate everybody, but you're making it difficult for me. I know when I give you the thing, you start talking. Start from the back.
Good afternoon, Nigerians and our leaders. My name is Godson Azu from Ben TV. My question is this to our honorable woman rep member, Mrs. Abike Dabiri. You said earlier on today that you want us to visit Nigeria for the Nigerian Diaspora Day, which is the 25th of July. I want to ask you if that day has been restructured, because previously it normally takes 3-4 days for the conference, the Diaspora Conference to take place in Nigeria. Is it now 1 day? Because we have loads of Nigerians who are coming to, some of us who belong to NIDO, that they want to come for the conference. If it's going to be 1 day, then it does not justify what we are coming to do in Nigeria. Okay. So can you verify how many days that conference is going to be for us?
So let me tell you how I would have asked that question, just to help everybody. Is it going to be 1 day from the 25th of July for the conference? That would have been it. Okay? Which party is in support of Diaspora? There's a lady in the middle. I have to try and do some gender balance.
Good afternoon. My name is Stella Maris. I'm doing Masters in Peace and Conflict Studies. I just wanted to ask, I'm doing like number 6, basically. If we were to change the constitution, for example, to answer the settler indigenship question, I'm wondering what effect this would have on immigration policies. For example, if you say that anybody can become an indigene of a state, isn't there like tendencies that there might be other people coming in from Chad, or how do we know who's been in a state for so long, or how long they've been there for?
Good afternoon. My name is Olutope Lawal. The question is directly to my Honorable Abike Dabiri regarding women issues and the fact that you mentioned that we want women to come into politics. People in diaspora, what are the implementation in place for people in diaspora to come on board to support women in Nigeria?
The gentleman in front.
Good afternoon. My name is Ayo Dukoya. I'm former vice chair of NIDO and a founding member, and I also jointly wrote the constitution for NIDO. I sat here most of the time very uneasy, to be honest, and I have to say I'm going to add a discordant note. I have listened to the panel largely, and I see a very elite group who are largely complacent about so many things that actually affect people. I'm concerned that it is unlikely that most Nigerians are particularly worried about the Constitution or the need to change Constitution. If you ask most Nigerians in Nigeria, I dare say less than 1% will even know the process is going on. So therefore, you should prioritize your what you need to do and actually just address the primary needs, which are infrastructure, lights, power, and so on and so forth. I'll ask
What's the question? You only allowed one.
Well, that was not a question. That was just an observation, a very important one, no doubt. I'm also concerned to know whether much of the work going on is evidence-based, whether there's been a lot of research on so many things. I was mindful of the contribution of Michael, I believe, which is primarily addressed to the process and the procedures in terms of what can happen. But in terms of policy issues and such like, has there been contributions from policy think tanks and so on and so forth?
Okay, research. I'll try and take everybody, but you see, I'm going to quick.
Okay.
I'm going to be a bit.
Good afternoon. My name is Niyi Jaola. I'm a member of the Progressive Lawyers Forum, and my question is this: has any thought been given to providing watchdogs or independent authorities or commissions who would more or less provide some sort of scrutiny and overview functions and that can be reported back, perhaps to the National Assembly or to other bodies. So a good example is this. Having an independent authority, for example, on auditing, an audit commission, that would ensure that there's financial transparency in all the different spheres of government.
Okay, I think...
And say maybe a police authority as well, that would ensure that the police perform their functions.
Okay, thank you. Before they lose sight of all the comments and questions, can I let them respond? And then I'll come back to you, but you're going to have to just say a question.
Most of them were.
I think just two of them. Diaspora, it's been the normal 3-day diaspora activities, but July 25th is built around July 25th. So it's normally 3 days, a day for you to showcase whatever it is you want to showcase, the other day for the actual conference, and the third day to round up. So it's the normal 3 days. We're setting up a committee. You're all going to be involved. Naido, Kanuk, will dissipate information through the various websites very, very soon. In another 3 weeks, you'll hear from us. So it's the normal 3-day diaspora conference. And women in politics, I don't think you need permission to say you want to be part of it. Let's just do this thing together. You know, whether you are here or there, we can all work together. And you can also come home early enough to contest elections, but you have to be on ground, you know, from your local government and ward level, and participate in what is going on there. And sometimes you can do it from here with the world of technology, but, you know, it's better to join us together to do these things together. I think those are the two that I was directly asked.
There was this issue of somebody asking whether the indigenship issue. For you to be a Nigerian, definitely the Constitution has spelled out clearly some requirements. You must be born in Nigeria, you know, your parents also must be Nigerians, and a host of other issues. I think the issue of indigenship is to try and settle this crisis of people who have moved from one zone to the other, and they have spent so much time in that place. Their great-grandfathers are already living in the place, you know. So you see what is happening in Jos. Sometimes it has to do with indigenship problem and a host of other places like that, you know. But I think, like we have said clearly here, it is not our final say. It is what you people agree on, or rather the Nigerian people want. But we are just representatives. You know, we may have our own opinion, which may be different from their own opinion, but they have the final say. But if they say no, no will be the answer. But for you to be a Nigerian citizen, definitely the Constitution has spelled out clearly what you need to meet, the some requirements. Must be born in Nigeria and a host of other requirements. Thank you.
I just want to speak on the issue of the last question that has to do with the Audit Commission. I think we don't need it because already we have an office of the Auditor General who is independent. Apart from that, he reports to the Parliament, I think, the first 3 months. This is the chairman of public account. We have public account committee in both the Senate and the House of Reps, and I think you shed more light on that.
Sorry, I wasn't there when the question was asked, but I've taken a clue. I've taken a clue from his response. Actually, it's a very disgraceful situation in Nigeria about the Office of the Auditor General for the Federation and what he does, because that office was created by an act of 1956, and currently the Auditor General resides in a 3-bedroom apartment, rented. So he hasn't even got the capacity to audit the entire federal financial system that he is supposed to. I was told that the question was on the separate auditing of police, was it?
No.
Probity generally.
Of a commission, auditing.
Okay, we have today, we have a bill that has gone through the second reading, actually 2 bills. One is to create a National Audit Commission, and that will give the Auditor General for the Federation a commission that will recruit for him or her the required personnel and the skills, promote and discipline the staff. Today he has only 1,500 staff. he requires over 6,000 for him to audit the federal system. We have also sponsored a bill and has gone through the second reading to amend 2 sections of the Constitution. One is to place the Auditor General on a first-line charge, because as the Auditor General for the Federation, that office is supposed to be insulated from executive interference particularly. While the Constitution gives the Auditor General for the Federation political independence, that he cannot be directed by anybody, including the President, he still has to go to the Federal Ministry of Finance looking for money to carry out his activities. And while we have over 4 trillion naira budget, the Auditor General has only about 275 million to audit the entire system. In 2013, that is what the executive proposed. Of course, we begged and tried to explain to our colleagues in the National Assembly that that was an orchestrated effort by the executive to undermine the office so that he doesn't function. It's not in their interest, as they perceive it, but it's in the interest of Nigerians that the Auditor General is able to audit all the federal expenditures. The second leg of the amendment we are seeking is for the Auditor General to directly audit corporations, commissions, and other parastatals of federal government. The Constitution as it is does not allow him to audit like NNPC or indeed any other commission. What he is empowered to do is to only nominate, for example, 10 private auditing firms, and then the organization, for example, NNPC, could pick one, and they use them to audit themselves. That has never worked. In fact, they don't even do that in NNPC, for example. They will go directly to a foreign auditing firm, just recruit, and technically all the audits they have conducted in the past remain invalid as far as the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is concerned. So we feel the Auditor General should have direct access to the books of NNPC and other commissions, so that he doesn't have to ask someone to go and do it. He should do it himself. We believe that will bring some better transparency and probity in the process. And similarly, we want that reflected in the State's Houses of Assembly, State Auditor General's offices, because they suffer from the same thing. The prohibition the Auditor General faces at the federal level, they face at the state level. So we feel we should also emancipate the State Auditors General so that they can also audit commissions and corporations in their various states. And we believe that at the end of the day, it is the duty of the National Assembly, the legislature, to actually get the Auditor General out of the clutches of the executive arm of government, and that is going to be by approving his budget directly. He submits his budget, and that is the practice in most countries, including some countries in Africa, like Ghana, like South Africa. The Auditor General submits his request, financial request, directly to the legislature, and the legislature looks at it and approves it. Because the executive arm is going to be audited, they will always make sure he doesn't have enough to audit them. So we want to rescue him from that mission, from that kind of situation, so that he has a better, more efficient and effective operations climate that will make him audit all the parastatals, including the federal ministries, departments, and other agencies. Today, he audits only about 40% of what he's supposed to audit. Of over 70 missions we have in Nigeria, across the world, he audits maybe 5 in a year. He doesn't have the finances to go around, and nobody will support him if the legislature doesn't. So it's, for us, I've been in the Public Accounts Committee as chairman since 2007 in the Senate, and I have seen how difficult it has been for that office to function. But I'm sure once the legislature summons enough courage and the political will, we can turn around the fortunes of that office, and that will be better for Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm going to have to apologize. We can't take any more questions because there's still another session, and we have to hear from Clement in terms of he's involved in Nigeria in the process, so we need to get his own views. But I've given you the website. Also, the clerk of the committee's email address is azubike.chinedu @yahoo.com. If you can ask, if you see me after, I'll also give you the email address. You've also got the website address, which is www.hcrc.org.ng. We will never ask enough questions, so the best thing is for me to direct people there. I would like to thank Honorable Emeka Ihedioha, Honorable Abike Dabiri, Senator Ahmed Ibrahim Lawan, and Honorable Garba Datti for taking time out of their busy schedule